Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, audio. Hare Krishna. Devotees in Zoom, you can hear.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Okay,
we can hear very clearly.
thank you. Okay, so we will complete the balance translations. It's a small chapter. We'll complete all the translations, then we'll discuss. Okay, please read, Prabhuji. Okay. Hmm. I'll read the physical elements, nature, and the original cause, culture, destiny, and the time elements are all material causes. Agitated by these material causes, the 11 functions transform into hundreds of functions, and then thousands, then into millions. But all these transformations do not take place automatically by mutual combination. Rather, they are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual soul, bereft of Krishna consciousness, has many ideas and activities created in the mind by the external energy. They have been existing from time immemorial. Sometimes they are manifest in the awakening state and in the dream state, but during the sleep, unconsciousness, or trance, they disappear. A person who is liberated in this life, Jivan Mukta, can see all these things vividly. There are two kinds of Kshetrajya. The living entity, as explained above, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is explained as follows. He is all-pervading cause of creation. He is full in himself and is not dependent on others. He is perceived by hearing and direct perception. He is self-effulgent and does not experience birth, death, old age, or disease. He is the controller of all demigods, beginning from Lord Brahma. He is called Narayana, and he is the shelter of living entities after the annihilation of this material world. He is full of opulences and his resting place, and he is the resting place of everything material. He is therefore called, known as Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his own potency, he is present within the heart of all living entities, just as the air or vital force is within the bodies of all beings, moving and non-moving. This way, he controls the body in his partial feature as the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters all bodies and controls them. My dear King Raghugana, as long as the conditioned soul accepts the material body and is not free from the contamination of material enjoyment, as long as he does not conquer his 6 enemies and come to the platform of self-realization, by the awakening of his spiritual knowledge, he has to wander among different places, different species of life in this material world. The soul's designation, the mind, is the cause of all tribulations in this material world. As long as this fact is unknown to the conditioned living entity, he has to accept the miserable condition of the material body and wander within this universe in different positions. Because the mind is affected by disease, lamentation, illusion, attachment, greed, and enmity, it creates bondage and a false sense of intimacy within this material world. The uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it chance, it will grow more and more powerful and become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the personality of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So, this is the end of his first set of instructions. Now he is going to give, after this, there's going to be more questions, and then he's going to give a second set of instructions. So basically, in this set of instructions, Jadabharata explained to Raghugana how we make a world for ourselves simply by mental speculation. This whole creation, this 14 planetary system, is simply a function of mental speculation. It exists because of mental speculation only. The jiva, this fellow, he's imagining that he can enjoy in various ways. When I was a teenager, I was very attracted to dogs' life. I used to think dogs are great. They don't go to school. They don't have to write exam. They don't have to bring a mark sheet and show it to the parents and get it signed. They don't have any tension of growing up and becoming a bigger man, trying to find a job and go and earn money. But only problem I had with dog's life was that as children, we had a pastime in our street. What was that? Throwing stones at the dogs. So whenever we bunch of boys get together, we start collecting stones and throwing stones at the dogs. And the dogs will get hit or they will run away. So I didn't like that part of dog's life, that the people throwing stones at the dogs. So the point is that the living entity simply imagines various things. He imagines various things. And that imagination is the cause of this creation. When he is in one body, he imagines that some other situation is better. And when he is in another body, he starts imagining that some other situation is better. When he is in some other body, he starts imagining that some other situation is better. And whatever is his imagination, according to his imagination, his activities are there. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we all know the shloka, yam yam vapismaran bhavam tijatyanti kalevaram tam tam yevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. So, if we actually consider, we may have various feelings, emotions, we may have various things about various people. But actually, if you carefully consider, this is all mental speculation only. This is all mental speculation only. It is just interaction between mental speculations. Like I am thinking that I am a 53-year-old man and I am so and so, and I have so and so things. And then I'm speaking from that perspective. So as long as the talks are not based on solid Krishna conscious philosophy, all interactions in this world are simply mental speculations. They are all simply result of mental speculations. That's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Dvaite Bhadra Abhadra, Ye Saba Brahma, Ye Bhala, Ye Manda, Ye Manodharma. There's one nice kirtan of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he talks about Maner Manush, the man who is created by the mind, Maner Manush. And this man who is created by the mind, he is not interested in chanting the holy name. So he compares this man to a bird. And he is telling him, oh bird, you can sing so many names. Paki sakal naam bolte paro. Keno Hare Krishna naam bolona. Why you are not singing Krishna's name? Why you are singing so many names? What is your problem? Why you are not singing Krishna's name? Because of mental speculation. We are carried away by mental speculation. So that mental speculation, it expands in different ways. It expands as different isms. Today morning in the Bhagavatam class, we are discussing theism, atheism, and atheism within theism, which is the different philosophies of the different darshanas, and then the Mayavada explanation of Vedanta Sutra. They are all atheism within theism. They are all considered as astika because they accept the authority of Vedas. But they don't accept a person, God, who is all powerful, who is Supreme Personality of Godhead, who intelligently controls everything. They all come up with their own mental speculation of what is the Supreme Absolute Truth and how to attain the Supreme Absolute Truth. So they are all atheism within the realm of theism. So this way, multiple isms. There is atheism, there is theism, there is communism, there is socialism, capitalism, feminism, ultra-feminism. Now there is activism, all this LGBTQism. So many isms. And sometimes we talk to children, they're also confused with all these things. Earlier, a girl used to think that I am a girl. A boy used to think I am a boy. And boy used to get attracted to girl. Girl used to get attracted to boy. At least in this level, there was no confusion. At least in this level, there was no confusion. Now there is confusion in this level also. Now boys are getting attracted to boys. Girls are getting attracted to girls. And they are all thinking, oh, am I opposite sex, same sex, heterosex, homosex, what sex? We don't know. So the manovritti, the expansion of mental speculation is actually causing so much of activity. And that is what here he is pointing out to him. That your philosophy is simply manovritti. What you're talking, that I am king, they are servants, and I am supposed to correct them, they are supposed to serve me. All this philosophy is simply expansion of mental speculation. And anyone who understands this basic thing, he doesn't attach value to this, because this is just like a person who understands the value of a dream when he is woken up. That is why sometimes even these problems and these issues which comes at interpersonal level, sometimes we give so much importance to these problems and issues. But if you actually look at them, they are of no value, because they are all coming from mental platform. Like, a person says, oh, I can get along with this person, I cannot get along with this person, I like this person, I don't like this person, I have this fight with him, I have that fight with him, he is trying to dominate me, I am trying to dominate him. So many different things. Simply garbage of no value. But of course, when they are afflicted by it, then we cannot tell them that this is simply garbage, is of no value. You have to sit, you have to listen, and then you have to try to give them some Krishna conscious solution. But if they're too much like mentally carried away, they cannot even accept Krishna conscious solution. Like one time when Mataji came to me and my wife, and she was expressing so many difficulties with her husband. And then my wife told her, why don't you bring your husband and let us all sit together and read Bhagavatam? She became extremely angry, very angry. She said, you people, you don't know anything other than Bhagavatam. Whenever we come with some genuine problem, you simply tell us to read Bhagavatam. What is this? What is this? Why can't you solve my problem? Why you are asking me to read Bhagavatam? So angry at the prospect of reading Bhagavatam. And her anger was genuine. She was genuinely angry. So then I told Mataji, I asked Mataji, what do you want? Can you please tell us? Then she asked, are you a qualified counselor? Do you have a counselor certificate? I said, no, I don't have qualified counselor. Why do you counsel people? I said, I didn't ask you to come to me. You came to me. Oh, people are telling you are counseling people. So what can I do? What can I do? If you don't have certificate, you should not counsel people. I said, okay. Now, can I connect you to somebody who has a certificate? We can speak to them. Okay. Then she said, okay, do that. So then I got some devotee from a foreign country who is a social worker, who has some proper certificate. And then I told that Mataji, can you please talk to this Mataji so that she can relate to you and she understands at least you have certificate. We don't have certificate. So you can listen to her and you can try to help her. So sometimes people, they cannot relate to the fact that what they are going through is just a mental speculation. They cannot just relate to it. So then they have to be dealt in that mental platform only. Means then you need like you need some psychiatrist, or you need some social worker, or some certified grief consultant, or like one devotee, he said his wife died and he was looking for a grief consultant. And then he got a grief consultant and he was talking to the grief consultant. And after 6 months, he married another lady. So when his wife died, his grief was so much that he needed a grief consultant. But after 6 months, he was already in relation with another lady. So it's all very complicated. When we actually enter the realm of mind, then we are actually entering into some sort of a chakra vyuha. You don't know when you entered, you don't know where you entered, you don't know how you got caught into it, and you don't know how to come out of it. So therefore, devotees should be very careful not to get into this mental speculation zone, maner manush. Don't create this man of the mind and then make that man of the mind our identity. When we do that, then it's extremely difficult to even relate to Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we start thinking that Bhagavatam cannot provide solutions to us. We think that the solutions should come from some non-Bhagavatam sources. Non-Bhagavatam sources, like some psychiatrist or some mental counselors or whatever. We get into that realm, then it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to relate ourselves back to Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why here Jadabharata is actually warning Raghugana that see, you are already in a realm where you are unable to relate to reality. There is substance, there is shadow. This material world is shadow, and that shadow is creation of mind. And there is substance, which is Krishna and the spiritual world. And that substance is actually a function of pure consciousness. So we're trying to migrate from shadow to substance. This is what we are trying to do when we practice sadhana bhakti, when we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness. We're actually trying to migrate from shadow to the substance. But we have this strong attraction, or we have this strong shackle of the shadow in the form of mind and the offerings of the mind. There's offerings of the mind which keeps coming to us. The mind keeps telling us various things. Like a classic example is what we discussed in the morning, that he has made a mistake, I have made a mistake. So if I accept my mistake to him, I am giving him a higher position. Then he might take advantage of me, and he may think that, oh, I was right, he is wrong. It's a classic example of taking a mental position. So let him feel he is right. Let him feel he is the king of the world. But if I do the right thing, I can go back to Godhead. So our activity should be driven by the aim of going to the substance. Our activity should not be driven by satisfying the shadow. That is what we should understand. This is Bhagavata psychology. There is millions of activities which are meant to satisfy the shadow. But there is one concentrated activity which is meant to take us to the substance. Krishna explains to Arjuna this very clearly in Bhagavad Gita. Vesatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avivasainam. Bahushaka hi anantascha, he says. Anantascha means is unlimited. There's unlimited branches of mental speculation. Where it starts, where it's end, nobody can understand. Na rupam yasya khatato balabhyate na anto na chadir na sampratishta aswattam yenam subruda moolam asanga sastrena dhridena chitva. Krishna says very clearly that what is the kind of this tree of material existence we have created, nobody can understand. And where it started, where it is going to end, that also cannot be seen. And what it is based, that also is not clearly understood. Nanto na chatit na sampratishta. But what we should do, we should cut off this tree. Ashanga shastrena dridena chitva. By not associating with the mind and by associating with the substance, we should cut off this shadow. Okay, let's read some purpose.
The Vedavad followers of the Vedas are generally inclined to Karmakand, the performance of sacrifice according to the Vedic injunctions. They are thereby promoted to higher planetary system. They generally practice the Chaturmasya system. Akshayam ha vaya Chaturmasyam yagyehi sankir sukrutam bhavati. One who performs the Chaturmasya Yagya become payas. By becoming payas, one may be promoted to a higher planet system. Otherwise, as indicated in the Bhagavad Gita, one is not a Tattvavadi, but a Vedavadi, a blind follower of Vedic injunctions. A Vedavadi cannot be purified from material contamination unless he becomes Tattvavadi. That is, one who knows Tattva, the absolute truth.
So that's why in 4th chapter Bhagavad Gita, all type of yajna is meant to culminate in approaching the spiritual master. That tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha.
The conclusion is that unintelligent men with a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand Bhagavad Gita.
No, Bhagavan.
Bhagavan, Brahman, or Paramatma. But after studying the Vedas and attaining the understanding of absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is supposed to be on the platform of perfect knowledge. Of course, in the material world, the mode of goodness is accepted as the best. However, that is not perfection.
Yeah. So this discussion we already had, where in the first canto, in Vyasanarada Samvad, while discussing the different reasons for the dissatisfaction of Vyasadev, we discussed already this, that mode of goodness, the motive of self-purification, all these things, they are not perfection. They cannot give satisfaction. They are conducive for perfection. They are required for attaining perfection, but they are not perfection in themselves. Perfection is to develop love of God. Okay, please continue.
One may dream that he has become a king with a good family, wife, and children. But immediately at the end of that dream, he comes to the conclusion that it is false. Similarly, all kinds of material happiness are undesirable for a person who wants spiritual salvation.
Yeah, so this is very, very important. Gratifying the mind is undesirable for a person who wants to progress in Krishna consciousness. So if one tries to gratify the mind, then one will not be able to progress in Krishna consciousness. Okay, please continue.
All of them are trying to be materially perfect, but a devotee very easily comes to the platform of Nirguna in devotional service. Of course, the Gani's position is better than that of the Karmi, but that position is also insufficient. The Gyanis must actually become liberated, and after liberation, he may be situated in devotional service.
So ultimately, that is a substance, but we should always aim for it. In our day-to-day life, we should definitely aim for the substance. We should not be entangled with the shadow.
If the mind is captivated by the pious and impious activities mentioned in the Vedas, one remains eternally in darkness. One cannot attain the absolute platform. To change the consciousness from ignorance to passion or from passion to goodness does not really solve the problem. One must come to the transcendental platform, otherwise life's mission is never fulfilled.
Yeah, so this is very, very important. So, of course, passion is better than ignorance. Of course, goodness is better than passion. So, but that doesn't mean that a person who is in goodness or a person who is in passion is better situated. That's an illusion, is better situated. So therefore, if you see practically, Prabhupada said that at least one should raise himself to the position of Madhyamadhikari. If you see, Prabhupada constantly gives this instruction that at least one should raise oneself to the position of Madhyamadhikari. Because Madhyamadhikari's position is the position which is transcending the three modes. He is no longer, Madhyamadhikari is no longer affected by the three modes. A Kanishta is in mode of goodness. Those who are not in mode of goodness, they are considered as pre-Kanishtas. They are less than Kanishtadhikaris. A Kanishtadhikari is at least situated at the platform of goodness, from where he is able to practice devotional service. If you read Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says, in spiritual matters, one should at least raise oneself to the mode of goodness. Then he said, then how to make further progress will be revealed. If we are still in mode of passion and mode of ignorance, then we have to be there only. It cannot, it's not a platform to progress. Mode of passion and mode of ignorance is not a platform to progress. Mode of passion and mode of ignorance is a platform to simply remain entangled. So when a devotee is practicing devotional service in mode of passion or mode of ignorance, then you simply remain entangled. You will not be able to make substantial progress in devotional service unless he clears himself of the base modes, which is the mode of ignorance and mode of passion. Tada rajas tamo bhava kamalobha desyaye chetayete ranavidham stitam sattve prasidati. So that is very, very important. That's very important. So many times we come to Krishna consciousness, we take a practice of Krishna consciousness, and then we are also doing Krishna consciousness. Not that we are not doing, we are doing Krishna consciousness, but we don't give so much attention to coming out of these modes. We don't give so much attention to it. We think that, okay, I'm here, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, I'm doing good. So this will somehow or other take me back home, back to God. But it's very clear that unless we come out of the three modes, like Prabhupada is saying here, that we have to, coming from ignorance to passion, coming from passion to goodness does not really solve the problem. One has to transcend the three modes. Without transcending the three modes, there is no question of thinking about how to get love of Godhead. Otherwise, Krishna consciousness will also become mental speculation. Like we are speculating that we are practicing Krishna consciousness, but actually we are not practicing Krishna consciousness seriously. Maybe speculating that yes, I am a devotee, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, I am in this ashram, I am in that ashram, and I am following the rules and regulations of my ashram nicely. Maybe thinking all these things. But have we really tried to come out of the clutch of three modes? This is a question which we need to answer. If we are not trying to do that, that means we are still stuck in mental platform. And practicing Krishna consciousness in mental platform means simply trying to take one more body. We should be very clear about this. We should not be under some sort of illusion that I'll do whatever I will do, and then suddenly I will go back to God. Suddenly and all, we cannot go back to God. We have to go through the process, and by proper purification, we can definitely go back to Godhead. Prabhupada is saying this lifetime is possible to go back to God. But we should follow the process nicely.
Roji, one question.
Yeah.
Roji, as you said that we have to give attention to the modes. Like in the beginning, we come to bhakti, so whatever is there, we accept everything and start practicing because in the beginning we have a lot of shraddha, so we have like little transcendental we are in the beginning, but after the some time we get like settled. So that settlement means that like I'm in this ashram, but that is also a bodily platform only, like as you said. So therefore, my question was that now, having come to Krishna consciousness, having read Bhagavad Gita, for example, then Krishna has given the different symptoms of modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. So unless and until we ourselves strive, it will not go. Is it true, Prabhuji?
Correct. If you see 14th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that we can train ourselves to be in mode of goodness. If you see current civilization, the current civilization is training themselves to be in mode of passion and mode of ignorance. We are actually training ourselves to get distracted. We have a mobile phone, and every 2 minutes we need to see it. If we don't see it for 2 minutes, every 2 minutes, we feel that something is missing in our life. This is training for distraction. We are doing something, but we cannot apply our mind into that. We have to see something else. Why? Because one sound is coming, ting. That means some message has come. So now there's a whole urge to see what is that message. And if you don't see that message, you cannot peacefully do what you are doing. And that message may be coming from a company which wants to sell underwear to you. And you may be trying to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. But you go from Chaitanya Charitamrita consciousness to underwear consciousness in 1 second. Because we cannot but help to be distracted. So this is the problem. We are training ourselves to be distracted. The whole training is to be distracted, is to be dissatisfied, is to always crave. Always crave. The whole training is like that. Even the modern education is like this. Modern education teaches us to be dissatisfied. That you get that half mark which will take you to IIT or AIT, BIT, whatever it is. And if you don't get that half mark, you have to commit suicide. So many students, they commit suicide just because they cannot get into an institution. Then, more than that, there are students who get into that institution and commit suicide. They get into IIM, they get into IIT, and then they commit suicide. जो नहीं मिला वो भी suicide किया, जो मिल गया वो भी suicide किया. So why? Because we are so much victimized by mind and the distracting effect of the mind. So that's what Prabhupada says. We can actually train ourselves. We can train ourselves to come out of the 3 modes. The whole Krishna conscious training is meant to bring us out of the 3 modes. The 64 rangas of bhakti, of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, are actually meant to bring us out of 3 modes and to deliver us Bhava Bhakti. Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Sabhakti Sadhana Vida Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam Iti Sadhyata. There is sadhana, there is sadhya. The sadhana is the practice, the sadhya is the goal. So what is the goal of the sadhana? Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam. iti sadhyata. So for this purpose, we have come to the Krishna conscious society. Okay. We need to remember it. The next time we have a misunderstanding with our fellow devotee, god brother, roommate, ashram mate, wife, husband, whoever it is. When we have the next misunderstanding, that time what we should remember? Nityasya yadasya bhavasya prakatyam iti sadhyata. So what is my sadhya? Is my sadhya to put my point and make myself as the victorious person in a conflict, or is my sadhya to get Krishna consciousness, to get that Nitya Siddha Bhava? It's a very important question, because mind can deflect us in 1 second for the most trivial matter. That we saw in Bharata's life. It just deflected him in 1 second. And then before he could think, 2 lifetimes are gone. Before he could think, 2 lifetimes are gone. So that's why he is so concerned with Raghugana. So he is speaking, hey, please don't do this. You don't know what you are getting into, man. Before you know, you will be somewhere. You can't even recognize. At least Jadabharata will tell Raghugana, at least I had the good fortune of understanding that I was a king, then I was a deer, now I am a Brahman. I at least had the good fortune of understanding all these things because I executed devotional service so vigorously. If I had not executed devotional service so vigorously, then what will happen? Then what will happen? So difficult. So that's why Prabhupada is saying that one must come to transcendental platform, otherwise life mission is never fulfilled.
Guruji, in this regard only, like now having been studying modes of material nature, so what I observed is they are also very relative. Like for example, this room is there. Now when children use this, then it becomes little unclean. So we feel that it's in ignorance. So then when we clean the room, now it is looking very good. But again, then there is still more cleanliness that can be done over here. So similarly, whatever procedure we are doing, like for improving our spiritual activities, we have some sets of rules and regulations, programs and all. But devotees are of different nature. Means it's not like there are conditionings, I can say. So everybody, for most of them, we can have some common thing, but according to different devotees, there should be different also way of doing, so that then it will be in goodness. Because somebody can tolerate to chant, say 32 rounds in one sitting, but others may not be able to do. So suppose somebody is able to say chant 20 rounds only, then for him chanting 20 rounds as per his capacity may be in mode of goodness. But if somebody can chant only 8 rounds, and if we tell him to chant 20 rounds, this time give an example. It may be in mode of ignorance or passion. So like that, I'm just giving an example, not that we should not chant. So like that, different parameters are there. So in this also, then the monodharma will come into picture.
See, when we practice Krishna consciousness, okay, due to our conditioning, we get attracted to some different activities of Krishna consciousness. Like someone, that's why people say that I can identify with this service. This is my service. I like this service. It's okay. It's not wrong. Because that's the way we will purify ourselves. Okay. Somebody might like to sit and chant 32 rounds. Somebody might be happy chanting 16 rounds, but he may have interest in reading Bhagavatam. Somebody may chant 16 rounds, listen to Bhagavatam 1 hour a day, but he may be interested in doing some managerial service. He may be interested to organizing some things and things. So different people come with their different inclinations, which are acquired inclinations. These are not their nature. That is the one thing we should actually always remember. We should not think that this is my nature. At least we should have that much knowledge to understand that my nature is different. I have acquired this and I have become victim of this. This is a big change in consciousness. When you start thinking like this, then you become more receptive to many things. It's a huge shift in consciousness. It's a huge shift in consciousness. I found it very useful for myself. When I was given services which I cannot relate to, but still I had to do those services. I found that it very, very useful to actually understand that this nature which I'm thinking that this is my nature itself is actually artificial. My nature is something else. That's real nature is lying something else. So this is just artificial nature which I am stuck with, and I have some idea that this is my nature, because I don't know last birth what I was doing. I may be something in my last birth, some animal, some man, whatever it is. And that time I may be thinking that that is my nature. Now this birth I am thinking this is my nature. And if I don't practice my Krishna consciousness properly, I will take one more birth. And in that birth, I will think that that is my nature. So while we understand that we have some inclination and we naturally interested towards certain service, and we like to do the services, and that is good. That is, I'm not saying that we should not do it. That is good. We should do it. We should get engaged in what gives us interest, because that's how we'll get purified. But the result of that engagement should be the understanding that this nature is an acquired nature. And I should try to become more open to accept what is required to be done, rather than cherry picking what I want to do. That's one step better. That's one step towards coming out of the modes, which is what you think as my nature. My nature is given by the three modes. I have a combination of three modes. That combination of three modes has given me a nature. And with that nature, I am thinking that, oh, I should not become a manager. I should become a teacher. Being a teacher is much better for me. Being manager is not so good for me. But then somebody is saying that, no, there are some requirement to be a manager. You be a manager. So then at least you are open to take up that service. And your whole idea that I am a teacher, I should be a teacher. If you are the students, they may think, "Arey, so कौन teacher बनाया? ये हमारा ऊपर इतना भारी पड़ रहा है. इसको कोई बोलना चाहिए कि टीचिंग और इसका कोई संबंध नहीं है." The students may think like that. And I may be thinking, oh, by nature I am teacher, Baba. So this whole nature thing is a mental speculation. And engagement according to one's nature in the beginning is good. I am not denying it. Again and again I am saying, don't misunderstand. Because this engagement according to one's nature is a big subject matter nowadays in ISKCON. People say that you should analyze a person's psychophysical nature, you should do this, you should do that. It's okay, I am not against all those things, but we should understand that that is not the be-all and end-all of the story. That is the preview. Movie ka preview dikhata hai. So that is the preview. The real movie is when you actually become ready to do the needful. When you understand that nature वेचर का भाड़ में जाए, जो करने का है वो करने का है. When you come there, that means that is where the movie is starting. तब तक खाली preview दिखाया.
Prabhuji, here one just
So,
one.
I just for doing this, what you said, like now for analyzing that the person's nature, this nature also we require very good understanding of modes. Similarly, means we require the understanding of modes. Then only we can find out whether what is the nature as given in Bhagavad Gita. But to come out of it systematically and to become transcendental to whatever is told also will need a understanding, or in fact quite a good understanding of modes. Is it correct?
It will need quite a good understanding of Bhagavata philosophy. It will not need quite a good understanding of modes. See, the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are like a mirror for a serious devotee. Okay? You stand in front of last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, they will show you where you are in terms of modes. Okay. There's sufficient information there to show you where you stand in terms of modes. If you're honest and if you want to understand clearly, if you actually read last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, you will understand either I am standing in this place in front of modes. इधर मेरा confusion है, इधर मेरा goodness है, इधर मेरा passion है, इधर मेरा ignorance है. Everything you will understand. You will get a X-ray of your modes by sincerely submitting yourself to the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. But the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita also have a systematic plan to come out of the modes. If you actually carefully study the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, in the end of each chapter, there is a solution given. The beginning of a chapter, Krishna brings up a problem. In the end of the chapter, Krishna gives a solution. Like, for example, if you take up 13th chapter, Krishna starts with the problem. That who is Kshetra, Kshetragya, who is, what is Jnana, what is Jnaya, who is, what is Prakriti, what is Purusha. Because this is the basic thing. These 6 things is the cause of the entire confusion and mental speculation of the whole humanity. Misunderstanding this, the interrelation between these 6 things is simply manifestation of each and every philosophy. That's why Arjuna is asking, Are, once for all clear kar do. Because every fellow is talking about this in every different way. The Mayavadi is thinking that there is no Prakriti. Prakriti is Mithya. Jagat, Mithya. And the Purusha is the Kshetragya. And the Jnana is simply to understand that the Purusha is the Kshetragya. And then to become inactive by such Jnana is the Jnaya. And Kshetra becomes non-existent. This is Mayavada philosophy. Like that, if you analyze each and every philosophy, all these fellows deal with this one. Like the Sankhya-vadis, they say that Prakriti and Purusha, they are independently existing. They are independently existing. And Purusha is the Jiva. And he himself is the Kshetragya. Jnana is to understand their independent existence. And Jnaya is to simply separate the Purusha from Prakriti. This is Sankhya-vad philosophy. Like that, you can actually define every philosophy in terms of the 6 items. So all the confusion is because you don't understand the 6 items in reality, in proper way, what the 6 items are. That's why Arjuna is asking. So because of that, every other consequent reactions come. You don't understand this 6, you are in ignorance, therefore you are caught into the 3 modes. That is the 14th chapter. And when you get caught into the 3 modes, you are going up and down into the 3 of existence. This is the 15th chapter. And while going up and down into the 3 of existence, sometime you are acquiring demoniac nature, sometime you are acquiring divine nature. This is 16th chapter. And with those natures, you come up with different ideas of faith and manufacture your own faith and then do various things of faith due to that faith. That is 17th chapter. So one leads to the other. One problem leads to the other. And then in the end of each chapter, there is also solution given. So in the end of 13th chapter, what does Prabhupada say? Prabhupada says that one should try to understand the subject matter under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. That's what Prabhupada says. Last purport of 13th chapter, last line, if you read, Prabhupada says, one should try to understand the subject matter under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. So this is where the solution starts. Sit under the lotus feet of the spiritual master, understand what is the relation between these 6 items, and figure out once for all that I am not the Purusha. I am not the Purusha. I am only limited Kshetrajna. Krishna is the Purusha. I am simply Prakriti. Figure this out once for all. Then, by using this knowledge to perform unflinching devotional service, Mamchayo Abhicharana Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samati Taitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. By strong sadhana, unflinching sadhana, you'll be able to come out of the 3 modes. When you come out of the 3 modes, then you can actually understand that Krishna is Purushottama. Till the time that understanding is only theoretical. As long as we are in the influence of 3 modes, Krishna is Purushottama is only a theoretical understanding. The practical understanding of Krishna is Purushottama comes by actually coming out of 3 modes and practicing devotional service. And then, by understanding Krishna as Purushottama, you will be able to actually start performing activities to genuinely please him as per the instruction of the spiritual master. That is the 16th chapter. And by doing that, you will realize the real purpose of Om Tat Sat. That is the 17th chapter. Om represents the Supreme Lord. Tat represents the nature, the identical nature of the Supreme and the Jiva. Sat represents the eternality of the Lord, the Jiva, and the service between them. You'll actually be able to realize. And when you realize that, then you can unconditionally surrender to Krishna. That is 18th chapter. So there's a whole sequence of subject matter in terms of problem and solution, which is flowing in the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So if you submit yourself to the last 6 chapters honestly, you will be able to position yourself in terms of 3 modes. You'll be able to see where I am in terms of 3 modes. Once you see it, then you should start applying the solution part. When you start applying the solution part systematically, then you will be able to progress in Krishna consciousness substantially. As long as we are not honest and we are still thinking my nature, my nature, my nature, my nature. Okay, when we are beginning our Krishna consciousness, these are all right. These are all right. My nature, my inclination, my preference, because we are coming from that same mentality of I, me, and mine. Aham mameti. Everything is centered around me. The same mentality we are coming into Krishna consciousness. So today morning we are discussing that we put the same mentality of academic reading in Bhagavatam. And then we say, oh, this portion is important, this portion is not important. Every time when I start beginning to teach a new batch of students, I always tell them, please don't get carried away by the highlights. This is a professional hazard. Highlighting the purport is a professional hazard because we don't have time to read the entire purport. So we try to read some portions of purport which we need to discuss. So that is the reason why it is highlighted. It has no more significance than that. It is not that highlighted portion of purport is very important, non-highlighted portion of purport is not important. Sometimes there may be some important items in the non-highlighted portion of the purport. But because it was previously discussed in some other unit or some other chapter, then this might not be highlighted. So we bring the same academic mentality we discussed in the morning. So we bring that same conditional mentality into devotional service, where the devotional service is centered around I, me, and mine. But it should be encouraged because If you don't encourage it, the fellow will not come into devotional service. Okay. But after some time, we should not get stuck to it. We should not think, oh, this is the be all and end all of it. We should not get carried away by this whole psychophysical nature and analysis and that and this and psychrometry and that metry and this metry. After some time, we should throw everything to Ganga and try to practice pure devotional service with the mood of doing the needful.
Just confirmation, Guruji. In the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, Lord, it's mentioned in more detail now about devotional practices. It's correct.
Yeah. Okay, please read.
Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Mayara vase yache vase khache habudu bhai. My dear brother.
So when my spiritual master came to Dubai, so he changed the song. He said, Mayar vache yacha bashe kacha Abu Dhabi Dubai. He said. So he was indicating that all of us are living in Maya. Okay, please read the translation.
My dear brother, the spirit soul is completely under the control of Maya, and you are being carried away by its waves. This is also
Please read this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Krishna bhuli sehi jivanadir bahirmukha atayo maya tare de samsara dukkha. Due to the living entity's forgetfulness of the Krishna, one is bound by the laws of material
One is bound
nature.
by laws of material nature.
Yes.
And then one gets all the
Dukkha.
miseries of samsara. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, we are meant to be in ecstasy. Okay. By practicing Krishna consciousness, we are meant to be in ecstasy. But by practicing Krishna consciousness, if you are experiencing misery, then what is happening? Huh? No, we are practicing Krishna consciousness. Mind is still active. Mind is still active in the material plane. By practicing Krishna consciousness, we are meant to be in ecstasy. Just like by tasting sugar, we are meant to taste sweetness. That's why that wonderful example is there. What is the example Rupa Goswami gives? That what is that? The jaundice and mishri. The nature of mishri is sweet. But some fellow puts mishri in his tongue and then says, is so bitter. That means what is the problem? That fellow has jaundice. Fellow has jaundice. Now, what is the medicine for jaundice? The sugar candy itself, the mishri itself. So he has to keep eating the mishri. One day it will taste sweet. That day we are free from jaundice. So we should know Krishna consciousness by nature is ecstatic. By nature is ecstatic. This is Krishna consciousness. Its nature is like this. By nature it is ecstatic. But if you are not feeling ecstasy every moment in practicing Krishna consciousness, that means there is some intervention of material mind. There is some intervention of material mind. Anandam buddhi vardhanam pradipadam purnamrita aswadhanam. This is what this is our right. We are meant to experience this. Anandam buddhi vardhanam pradipadam purna amrita aswadhanam. We are meant to experience this. This is ours. Rightfully ours. Because we are practicing Krishna consciousness. We are chanting the holy name. We are trying to serve Krishna. We are trying to accept him as our master. We are trying to do so many things. So, rightfully, this is ours. and it is there. So what is stopping us from accessing it is the intervention of material mind. The intervention of material mind. Okay, please read.
On the whole, the mind is the cause of conditioned life. Therefore, the entire yogic process is meant to control the mind and the senses. If the mind is controlled, the senses are automatically controlled. And therefore, the soul is saved from the reactions of pious and impious activity.
Because the soul, the senses are the seat of the mind. So when mind is controlled, then everything else is controlled. Yeah.
When the mind and senses are engaged in devotional service, the living entity naturally becomes Krishna conscious. As stated here, Maya Rachitanta Atma Swadehinam Samsriti Chakra Putta. The mind, being most powerful, covers the living entity and puts him in the waves of material existence.
So Maya has two energies. What are they?
Avranatmika protect.
Avranatmika and Prakshepatmika. What does Avranatmika do?
Cover.
It covers the original position of the living entity. It makes us think whatever is the mind's identity, it makes us think that is our identity. This is Avranatmika Shakti. This is called Karmatmakam Yena Sharira Bandhaha. The mind has acquired the activities and the reactions of the activities as its nature. The mind has acquired it. The mind has become blotted by material activities and the reactions of those material activities. And mind has accepted it as its nature. Karma Atmakam. Mind has accepted it as its nature. This is what I am. And then mind is putting it on the body and then trapping the soul into that body. And the body fellow, the soul fellow, he is also thinking that this is me. This is my nature. This is me. He's thinking. He's thinking like that. And then this thought that this is me and this is my nature, this is how I am, is the Avranatmika Shakti of Maya, which makes us think that I am such and such person who has such and such nature. Why? Because I am not such and such person. I don't have such and such nature. I am not that such and such person. My identity is something different in the spiritual world. That is now covered. The identity which I am thinking now is I am such and such person. I have such and such nature. This is not me. But to think that this is me is the Avranatmika Shakti. And then the second one is Prakshepatmika. So what does that do? The throwing potency. The throwing potency. The moment you have accepted the identity, then you are thrown into activities which are concomitant to that identity. I am an angry devotee. I am an angry devotee. So then what does Prakshepatmika Shakti do? It throws you into a fit of anger. It makes you get angry every time because this is what you are. You are angry devotee. You should be angry. You are angry devotee. So you should always be angry. So like that, it throws us into a certain sphere of material activity. Even while we are Krishna conscious, forget about people who are not Krishna conscious. They are the gone case. We are talking about people who are in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we should be very careful.
Yes.
Yes.
When we are talking about nature again here, so like everyone is born a particular guna and karma.
Correct.
In the modes.
Yes, yes.
So now to certain services, a person may be comfortable. For example, some, like you were saying, someone is given the post of manager, but now while rendering the service, he may not be comfortable, suitable. Now, just because this is the need, it may be given to him. So now, and so one thing is that with the discussion, one is ready to accept that, although he feels that with this he's not able to handle that. है ना? And he can express that, okay, I'm not able to handle, I can be given certain sin. So how do you like, for example, superiors also, they also, while giving the service, they also see what is the psychophysical nature. But as a subordinate, one should not be expressed, oh, this is my nature, as you say, because ultimately it is all on the mental platform. So how, but still we do understand that when service is given as per the nature of the subordinate, then he's gradually gets purified, because there he doesn't have to struggle so much fight with that. So now can you explain from both the points of view, from the side of superior, from the side of the subordinate? Now, because ultimately point is that one cannot hold on this, because ultimately one has to transcend that. And as you rightly said, ultimately that is not this is our acquired nature. So can you little bit elaborate more about that?
So I have a certain nature. So I'm given a service according to that nature. Okay. But sometimes I may be given a service which is not according to that nature, where I may not feel very comfortable. Okay. So how to face it from superior's point of view and from subordinate's point of view? That is more or less the question. What should be the consciousness from superior's point of view and from subordinate's point of view? So I'll take both points of view. I'll take superior point of view first. So when a person is given a service, and when we that he is not so much as superior, we should also be with him and train him and handhold him and encourage him to actually able to do that service to the best of his ability. Okay, so that's very important, because in Shikshashtakam, the first verse, it is said that Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam. So Cheto Darpana Marjanam means that first of all impurities are gone. Okay, Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam means because the impurities are gone, now you have become peaceful. Previously, you are disturbed. Because of impurities, you are previously disturbed. You're like a madman, nonam pramatta. Madman cannot do anything. He is not peaceful, he cannot do anything. So from madman, you have become a sane man. This is Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. Then Shreya Kairavadrika Vitaranam, you had an acquired nature. That acquired nature, when engaged in Krishna service, is going to shine. Is going to shine. Till now, that acquired nature was simply used in madness. So it was just pulling you down. Now that same acquired nature is used in Krishna service. So it is going to shine. It is going to make you look beautiful. Whatever you have acquired nature, that nature when engaged in Krishna service makes you beautiful. Then you come to next stage. What is that? Vidyavadu Jivanam. Now you are ready to gain knowledge which may not be your own nature, but which is actually required for service, so that you are able to execute that service. Okay. Why? Because you have submitted yourself for empowerment. You are no longer thinking that I am the doer and by my own ability things are done. When you're still having this idea, I am the doer and by my ability things are done. But when you are put into a situation where you have no ability, you have no other option but to surrender to the superior. You have no other option but to surrender to Krishna. You have no other option but to go and cry to Mahaprabhu. So now you are opening yourself for empowerment. You're opening yourself for empowerment. So the duty of the superior is to actually provide that empowerment by training, by support, by encouragement, by giving some proper Krishna conscious guidance to the devotee. The duty of the superior is to actually facilitate that open, not to close. If you open your consciousness, there's so much to receive. It doesn't matter. You may be successful, you may fail. It doesn't matter. That's not so much. It doesn't so much matter, because Krishna consciousness is process oriented. It's not result oriented. Result is an insignificant side effect of the process, because your actual process is the result. Like you, like a worst manager, it's okay. But did you try sincerely? Did you keep yourself as open? Did you take all that criticism which came on your way, putting your head down with humility, and then cry for a little bit of empowerment? If you did that, and if you are sincere in that, you are done, you're okay, you're passed. Irrespective of how you did in that assignment. And after 6 months, they may say, oh, probably, Prabhuji, this is not for you. We should throw you out and we should put somebody else. It's okay, no problem. And did you accept it with the same grace? Why Bali is Mahajan? Because Bali, Vamana comes to Bali, and Bali tells Vamana, what are the 3 steps? Man, you ask for more. You don't know how to ask. I'll tell you how to ask. You ask for village, you ask for woman, you ask for elephant, you ask for this, you ask for that. He, as a giver, he actually behaved with grace. Okay. Later, same Vana tied Bali with the ropes of Varuna. He was pulled like an animal. And now Vamana is sitting on the throne, and Bali is standing in front of him. And Vamana is asking Bali, how about going to hell, my dear? How about going to hell? Why? You didn't fulfill your promise. You didn't give 3 steps. How about going to hell? Would you like to go there? With the same grace, Bali accepted. I said, okay, I will give myself. I'll give myself. This is grace. Crazy. He didn't say. when you become malleable, and when you don't hold grudges, then you can progress like anything. From superior's point of view, they should actually help the devotee to blossom. And when they face difficulty, handhold them. Like we saw in the beginning of fifth canto, a classic dilemma, Priyavrata is saying that, why should I go and rule the kingdom? I am Naishtika Brahmachari for how many generations of my brothers, generations have ruled. Not that my brother ruled, his son ruled, and now there is nobody. You see, such a long generation of glorious rulers and such a long time being Naishtika Brahmachari. And then immediately Swayambhu comes, okay, get married. Man, are you kidding? I should get married. And Narad Muni is telling, tell your father, nothing doing. So we have one Mahajan telling, get married. We have another Mahajan telling, don't get married. Both of them are correct. Now, another Mahajan comes with another Mahajan. Who is that? Brahma comes with Lord Shiva. And you see how Brahma speaks to Priyavrata. This is classic superior counseling to a junior to take up some service which he doesn't want to do. It's a classic example of how a superior should deal with a junior to assign him some service which he doesn't want to do. Classic example. You see how much compassion Brahma has for Priyavrata and what kind of empowerment he provides him and what kind of encouragement he is giving him. Is phenomenal. And in the end, everybody is happy. Narada is not telling, hey, I trained this guy, now you are taking him away. What is this? ये मेरा न्यू बक्ता ट्रेनिंग है, इसको आप लेके जाके आप सर्विस देगा. He is not telling like that. He is so happy. Narada is so happy. He is telling, okay, time will come when you will come back to me. Don't worry. Go now, do what you have to do. Priyavrata is happy, Brahma is happy, Swayambhu is happy. And in the end, everything becomes auspicious. Priyavrata does what he has to do. He goes through some difficulty. Not that he doesn't go through difficulty. He goes through some difficulty. But he does what he has to do. And finally, he realizes that, no, I should go now. I have done enough. He realizes, he goes back. And how does that pastime end? Very beautifully it ends. It says that his heart became the place of pastime of the Lord. This is the effect of being open to take risk in Krishna consciousness. When you put yourself in the line for Krishna, then Krishna put himself in the line for you. So it's an important thing. It should be understood nicely that we cannot keep practicing Krishna consciousness on mental platform, always thinking of what is our psychophysical nature. If we want Krishna Prema, we should be ready to pay the price for it. Tatra laulyam apimulyam ekalam.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
see, continuing in this phase only, like Prabhuji asked about ideal subordinate and ideal senior. Like,
He just said what senior should do, what subordinate.
but sometimes, like in the practical scenario, sometimes the junior or subordinate may not be so much submissive, and sometimes senior may not be able to give so much training or time or guidance. So in that case, how an ideal subordinate should take and how an ideal senior?
Suriti is an ideal subordinate. Okay. Suniti is an ideal subordinate because her authority is finished. Who is her authority? Uttanapada. That's her husband. And that guy is useless. He rejected her. Okay. But when she counsels Dhruva, what she tells Dhruva? Your father, useless guy. He's always running behind that other woman. When you grow up, first to put a bomb under his seat. First to put one bomb under his seat. Next to bomb you put under that lady's seat. Third bomb under that lady's son. Does he say like that? Can you find Suniti blaming Uttanapad in her statements to Dhruva? You cannot find. She did not worry that her superior is unqualified. She simply depended on his superior, which in this case became the Supreme Lord himself. Okay. So she told Dhruva, just depend on the Lord, do what you have to do, everything will be all. And she even told Dhruva, don't be envious of your stepmother. She is the most ideal example of a junior who has a lousy authority. Okay. She doesn't blame her lousy authority. At the same time, when it comes to protecting her own juniors, she doesn't stop them from doing the right thing. Even though she is a woman and she cannot do anything, but she doesn't stop her son from doing the right thing. And she makes him glorious, by which she goes back to Godhead. So, see, in Krishna consciousness, we should all understand that we get what we deserve. Not only in Krishna consciousness, even outside world also, everybody gets what they deserve. In Krishna consciousness, we should understand this. Outside world, they don't understand this. That's the only difference. But it doesn't mean that we should not do the right thing. As a subordinate, our mood should always be to do the right thing. Okay. We may have an unqualified superior. That's okay. As long as the superior is not abusive, like he's not doing some sexual abuse or stealing some money, or as long as he's not doing such things, he's just a person who is not qualified to be in that position. We should still try to tolerate that person and still try to do the best to contribute under that situation without getting frustrated. Okay. Of course, he's abusive and other things, we should report also. That's also the right thing to do. You should not keep quiet also. Okay, he is my senior, he is abusing. As long as he is abusing somebody else and not abusing me, I am all right. I should just keep quiet. We should not do all those things. If you see a situation which needs to be alerted, which should need to be reported, you should report, you should alert. That's your bound duty. You should do it. Okay. But otherwise, he is just not qualified. Generally, you should let it go. You should try to help him. If you can do something to help him, you should try to do something to help him without letting him feel that you are actually favoring him. You try to help.
Seeing his mood or like that. Whether he's ready, if he's ready to take, then we can help.
If he's ready to take it. That's what I said. If you can help him, you should try to help him. Otherwise, you should just let it go. You should let Krishna, act in a way whichever it is appropriate. And sometimes it may be for our own benefit. See, most of the time what happens in Krishna consciousness, we are all so outward looking. Okay, ye qualified hai, ye unqualified hai, ye super qualified hai, ye aisa hai, wo aisa hai. We don't look inwards. If Krishna has put us in a situation, there is something for me in that situation. Forget whether that fellow is qualified, unqualified, वो सब अलग है. अब मैं क्या लेके जा सकता हूँ? What मुझे उधर क्या मलाई मिलेगा? I have to look at that part. That what Krishna conscious lesson I can take from this experience, because Krishna has put me into the situation for a reason. So that reason, can I try to find out and fulfill? That reason? Can I learn something out of it? can I get something positive out of it? Always we can get positive out of any situation, any bad situation. You can always get something positively Krishna conscious out of. So if you do that, your part is done. Your part is done. And then the situation will also get resolved. It's not like so bad. Because Krishna is there, he's a person. He's not like we are dealing with a system. We are dealing with a person. So he will also resolve the situation. It's not like so bad.
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, regarding ideal superior for junior.
Generally, ideal superior means that we should try to see what is the duty of a king. What is the duty of an authority? What is the duty of a father? What is the duty of mother? What is duty of a spiritual master? What is duty of a worshipable person? This already Rishabhadev explains, no, that Guru na sasyat, Sojano sasyat, Pita na sasyat, Janani na sasyat, Daivam na tatsyat, Napatisya tatsyat, Savimochayatya samupetya mrityum. First of all, we should try to deliver ourselves. And then we should try to deliver those who are assigned to us. We should deal with them only from that perspective. How can I help this soul to go back home, back to Godhead? Without having false ego in this equation in between. In the process, we should recognize if that person is better than us. We should definitely recognize. Definitely recognize. We should tell them, or if the person needs help, we should genuinely try to help that person. And we should do it like sometimes they may accept it in good way, or they may not accept it in good way. Or sometimes you may have to punish a person because he has done something wrong and there's a punishment which is needed. You may have to do it. But all these things, you should do it without malice, without any malice in the heart, without holding any grudge, or without any holding ill feelings. We should try to do all these things. This is the duty of superior. Like you try to keep your heart clean and you try to see how you can help others. If you can do that, then generally it is good. Generally it is good.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's continue.
When the mind engaged in the Lord's service, Savai Mana Krishna Padar Vendayor, it is called para. Transcendentally, when the mind is engaged in the material sense gratification, it is called avara or material.
So mind should always be engaged in Krishna consciousness. So when we engage all the senses in Krishna consciousness, then engaging the mind also in Krishna consciousness becomes easier. So they actually help each other. So that's why all the 64 rangas of bhakti is there, so that we can systematically engage the mind and senses in Krishna consciousness. Okay, please read.
Rather, they are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not think that all the interactions of the physical elements, gross and subtle, that cause the transformation of the mind and consciousness are working independently. They are under the directions of Supreme Personality of Godhead.
This is what we discussed elaborately, that we should never think that I am in a situation which is not created by Krishna. Like the situation which I am in is independent of Krishna's plan. So therefore, this situation is not suitable for me. When one person considers the situation is not suitable for me, what he is thinking? He is thinking that this is not as per Krishna's plan for me, or Krishna's plan for me has gone wrong in this case. Krishna has delivered some wrong thing to a wrong person. I don't deserve to be in this position. Krishna has put me here. That means Krishna doesn't know what I am and who I am. So he has put me in a position which I don't deserve. I should be in a much better position. I should be the temple president, but I am not the temple president. I am still they are still keeping me as new bhakta. I can see the temple president is not so qualified. I am much more qualified than him. So I should become temple president. He should become new bhakta. The situation is not changing. I am new bhakta. He is temple president. So that means Krishna doesn't know whom to keep as new Bhakta and whom to keep as temple president. Or you may think that somehow or other I am in this situation. Somehow or other I am in this situation. We are in a situation neither because of Krishna's mistake nor because of some random happening. We are in a particular situation because Krishna wants us to be in that situation. And that situation where Krishna wants us to be is actually good for us. Is actually good for us because there is something which I should learn from that situation and experience which Krishna wants to give me. Of course, if that situation is abusive, we should try to resist that situation. We should try to come out of the situation. It's not that, someone is coming to, hit me with a stick and then, in Bhakti Yoga class, they told me whatever situation I am, this is good for me. So I should get hit by the stick. No, this is all stupidity. If someone is coming to try to hit us with the stick, we should take a bigger stick and try to hit him and stop him. Or if you don't get a bigger stick, we cannot hit him and stop him. We should at least try to run away from the situation. It's stupidity to stand and then, get hit. But if there is no other way, if you have to get hit, then you should also accept it with satisfaction. You should try to save yourself. But if there's no other way, you tried the best. You tried to punch the guy, but he is so strong. He is much more stronger than you. Your punching is not having any effect on him. And you don't have any way to run away. He has finally hit you down. That also you should accept with satisfaction. But we should try to defend ourselves. That's very clear. It's not that we should not try. It's not like some crazy Christian philosophy. He put a slap in one cheek, you show the other cheek. No. We are not subscribing to that philosophy. We are not subscribing to that philosophy. Our philosophy is that we should do whatever is the right thing at the right time. We should defend ourselves. We should not fail to defend ourselves. We should try our best to defend ourselves. Non-violence is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is born in battlefield.
The different inclinations of the living entity are created by his own nature or his expectations, and he is trained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of material nature.
See, this is what we had such an elaborate discussion. You see what Prabhupada is saying? The different inclinations of the living entity are created by his own nature or his expectations, and he is trained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of material nature. So this is what is the definition of the so-called psychophysical nature. It's implanted on us by the material nature due to law of nature. Yeah, our desire and law of nature, both is acting simultaneously. We saw in third canto, no? Karmana, Daiva Netrena. Karmana is our part. Daiva Netrena is the part of law of nature. Okay.
When the mind is trained and the soul is not under the mind's control, the soul can be liberated even in this material world.
You see, what is the condition? Mind should be trained. And what is the second condition? Soul should not be under mind's control. It's a very, very important thing. Because the mind is constantly trying to keep the soul under his control and trying to tell the soul that whatever the mind is thinking is what the soul is thinking. This is what is mind's trick. Mind is thinking something. Okay? Mind is always thinking in terms of sankalpa and vikalpa. Is always thinking something. But this fellow mind, he is not keeping quiet. He is telling us, the spirit soul, that this is not my thought process, this is your thought process. Mind doesn't like something. Mind is telling you don't like something.